Welcome to another reaction video. Today we're taking a look at the September 14th, 2023 Nintendo Direct. To be honest, I don't have high hopes for this one, for a few reasons I'll talk about later. I'll also do my best to avoid spoilers, because there's no way I'll actually be able to watch this live. I had a feeling we'd be seeing the Splatoon DLC, given that it was announced a while ago, and I'm honestly really curious about this. The Octo expansion is actually really good, in my opinion is one of the best campaigns out of the series, so I'm very curious to see how the series evolves with Side Order. It's really weird seeing damage numbers in a Splatoon game. Also, I assume the little robot is controlled by Pearl, given the crown that it has. That's a lot later than I was expecting. It's been such a long time since I've played this, I'm trying to figure out if this is a remake or a new game. It just said Mario vs. Donkey Kong, so I'm assuming it's a remake, but again, I'm not entirely sure. Either way, it is nice to see a traditional Mario vs. Donkey Kong game again, in the style of DK94 for the Game Boy, which, oddly enough, that game is still not available on the Nintendo Switch Online service. Hopefully someday it will be. I think I actually do recognize this stage in particular, so yeah, this might be a remake. So, again, it would have been nice to have had a new game, but again, it is nice to see this style return, given that the previous games after this were more like you basically use the touchscreen to guide the minis different places, so actually having the return to the platforming style is nice. So yeah, I think this is just like a remake. It does look pretty good though, like graphically. Oh yeah, and there's even 2-player now, that's cool. I definitely want to try this again. It's been a long time since I played the original, so yeah, I'd be willing to give this a try. I kind of had a feeling we'd be seeing this game too. To be honest, even as someone who's not the biggest Prince of Persia fan, I've played only a handful of them to be blunt. This game looks really fun. Apparently it's kind of like a Metroidvania, but like a parkour Metroidvania. In a lot of ways it feels a little bit like Dread in terms of just being very movement focused, which actually looks really fun. And impressions specifically for the Switch version have been very glowing, like apparently they basically targeted Switch first, and then developed the other versions later, so I'm really hoping this game runs really well on Switch also, but also will run even better on other consoles. In general, I feel like that's how games should be made in this generation when you're targeting so many different versions, including Switch at the low end, but also including games like, or consoles like Series S even, instead of targeting the higher end platforms first and then trying to downscale with mixed results to frame rate and resolution. So yeah, I'm really interested about in this one. Weirdly enough, I had a hunch that we'd be seeing a lot of anime games at this particular one, partly because the Tokyo Game Show is coming up soon, and the September Directs tend to hype up games for that. I definitely wasn't expecting a Spy Family game in particular. I haven't seen the anime, to be honest, so that's new. I definitely wonder how they've rebalanced the game around the new mechanics. I hope it's still pretty balanced. I do like the additions here to kind of spice up the gameplay a little bit, and also the animations are very cool. I am really excited for this game. I hope it does well, and that we also get more remakes in this style. I'd love to see, like, even like Mario and Luigi. I know they already did Superstar Saga on 3DS, but I'd actually really like to see the DS or the 3DS Mario and Luigi games get like remakes in a similar style. Also rematches, that's cool. Culex Tease, I wonder how that'll look in the remake. So this was actually leaked before the Direct, and to be honest, I know Trace Memory is fairly niche, but I remember really enjoying the game. And it does look like a full remake, so I am interested to see how this goes. I also wonder if it'll include the second game as well. The game did use the DS's features really well, so I'm curious to see how that translates to a more traditional experience. But again, I'm very curious to see this series come back, and I hope it does well, because I did remember liking the DS game a lot. The Wii game was actually never released in North America. I think it was only in Europe and Japan. There's also a companion series around the same time, Hotel Dusk, and that got another like Europe and Japan exclusive sequel, Last Window, if I'm not mistaken. And part of me wonders if this game does well enough, if we might see like a reimagining of Hotel Dusk as well, which would be really nice. Okay, it is both games. That's good. And again, this game was like not released in North America before, so remaking both is really cool. Again, as someone who actually did enjoy these, also again, that's actually kind of soon, so I'm interested to see how that goes. I wasn't really sure what to expect from this game based on the initial showing, but this does look really interesting actually, with the different gameplay styles based on like the different transformations. I also hope we finally actually get a title for this game, given that in the like press briefings for financial reports, it's listed as like Princess Peach will star as the main character in the game, working title or something. So I'm assuming we'll actually get a title here. But again, it does look interesting and very different from anything else in the Mario series. I have never played the Saga games, but I know these are really popular games. I am interested in this, to be honest. Again, I know there was a collection, I'm pretty sure, and a lot of the older Saga games also got re-released on Switch, so maybe I should try them out, because, again, it is kind of a big deal that there's seemingly a new one. I don't know if this is like a brand new one or like a port of an older one, because again, I'm just not really familiar with the series, but again, it is cool to see the series continuing in some form. Okay, so it's the Final Fantasy X battle system, so I'm even more intrigued than I was before. I actually really do enjoy Final Fantasy X, so I'm interested in that. This is really interesting to me, given that there's actually a remake of Tomb Raider 1, Tomb Raider Anniversary, and I'm kind of surprised they're not releasing that, and they're just upscaling the PS1 games. I will say it is nice having the older versions also. I wish more series that even had remakes would also have the originals in some format also available. Like, I really feel this way about the Resident Evil series. I kind of wish the PS1 games were also available, even though they do have like full remakes on modern consoles. From what I gathered, this is just a sequel, and to be honest, I kind of wish it also included the first game as someone who hadn't played the first game. To be fair, I've heard that the first game is relatively straightforward, but still, part of me wishes it was like both to kind of make it easier to jump in, but I guess we'll have to wait and see if they actually properly recap everything. I can't remember the last game that actually used the IR motion camera, to be honest. I'm not entirely sure how responsive it will be for a game like this, though to be fair, sometimes making mistakes is part of the fun with a game like this. This game was a big viral hit. Was it late last year or early this year? I actually don't remember when it came out on Steam. This always looked entertaining, but not entirely a game I would enjoy playing, if that makes sense, just because I think it's more fun seeing like other people experience it, in my opinion. Oh wow, I definitely wasn't expecting a new Contra, to be honest. At most, I was kind of expecting a collection. I was kind of expecting something from Konami in this style, but I wasn't expecting like a game like this. I hope it's better than the last new Contra game, to be honest. I heard the last one was not so great, but it's cool. I don't know how to feel about the art style, to be honest, and I definitely feel like the frame rate is not doing great in the multiplayer mode, but yeah, it is cool seeing Konami attempting to revive a lot of series. Right away, this feels like a Vanillaware game, and that is definitely interesting visually. I don't know if it is, or if it's just a similar style. I still need to play like 13 Sentinels, for example. I still need to finish a bunch of games by Vanillaware, like Onesphere as well. But again, if it is the studio I'm thinking it is, yeah, it has a very similar art style. Yep, that's Vanillaware. Oh, that's interesting. They're actually dropping the subtitle for parody with Luigi's Mansion 3, which actually kind of makes sense. I said this last time, I'm still excited to have all the games on Switch, but again, I kind of wish it looked a little closer to Luigi's Mansion 3, though I also admit that would be a very huge undertaking remaking the game to that degree. I really wonder what they'll do with some of the formatting of this game, given that it was very chopped up into little smaller segments for the sake of being a handheld game and designed to be more approachable in smaller increments. So I'm kind of hoping they actually open it up a little bit and don't basically divide it into different missions. But again, I also feel like that would be a lot of work trying to re-segment the game in that way. But again, it would be nice if it was a little bit less restrictive in that regard. I do enjoy this game. I haven't played it since it came out, to be blunt, so I would be almost curious to see how it holds up. It definitely is my least favorite Luigi's Mansion. I don't think it's bad by any means, but I just feel like 1 and 3 are just a lot more memorable games for the most part. But again, I don't think this one's bad, and I do hope some quality of life improvements. Oh good, the Skyscraper's back. That's a very popular mode. I have actually never really played this mode, to be honest, in either version with friends, so I'd be curious to see how the two compare. I was expecting a release date for these. I kind of wonder what they do, though, to be honest. To tell the truth, it could be a huge spoiler for Xenoblade 3, depending on what they actually unlock. But again, January. I still don't... Oh. Unfortunately, this also leaked, but to be honest, that's a very interesting concept. I was kind of afraid it would be more like the other 99 games, where everyone's basically just sending hazards over to your game, but having everyone on screen at one time is a fascinating idea. I think this will be a lot of fun. I hope this gets more interest in F-Zero as a franchise, given that it's never been the best series in terms of overall popularity. It's always kind of struggled and has been relatively niche. I also can't attest for if these are like new courses designed specifically for this. I assume they would have to be a little bit bigger just to accommodate this many people. But in general, I think this is a really great idea. Again, F-Zero, I'm pretty sure already had like a death battle mode anyway in like F-Zero X, where you had to be like the last person standing out of like 30 AI or something. So actually just kind of taking that concept, applying it to the Super Nintendo game visually, and then making it a 99 game is really cool. There have also been so many other rumors about F-Zero and various ways to try to bring back the series, and it definitely, again, I think it'll be a good way to garner some more interest in the franchise going forward. Or at least I hope it works. I'll be honest, I don't play League of Legends, so I never would have guessed this was a League of Legends game, just looking at the initial artwork. I did want to add really quickly about the amiibo situation. That was actually something that I was expecting to see. There were actually rumblings of having to update Smash Ultimate, or some kind of update for Smash Ultimate happening soon, and the reason for that would be Sora doesn't actually have amiibo data in the last update, so they'll have to actually patch in an update to allow the Sora amiibo to actually work. To be honest, I was kind of hoping it would also include the Kingdom Hearts 2 design, because I actually prefer that design for Sora. And I also hope they fix some of the other issues, like some of the Steve glitches while they're at it. To tell the truth, the community surrounding League of Legends is why I've never actually dived into the series, just because I've heard that these games can get very toxic, but it is nice that they're doing a lot of single-player adventures. I never actually played Smooth Moves, to be honest, so I can't really attest for how good the motion controls were in that. I really hope this game is good, as someone who was kind of let down by Get It Together, actually. The format just felt a little bit too slow, and having a more traditional microgame setup might actually help. What the heck is happening now? I have no clue what that mode was. I also wonder if we have another situation like with Charles Martinet, how he voiced everybody, or if Wario, for example, will actually have a different voice actor than Mario in the current era. This is the spiritual successor that was kickstarted to Suikoden, which is also getting a remaster, oddly enough. I think the Suikoden remaster just got delayed, so we'll have to see how this game turns out. They did a side game, kind of like what Bloodstained did, where they had like a side game as like a Kickstarter goal. I don't remember hearing a ton about that. But again, as someone who has not played Suikoden, I can't really attest for how good this game looks. I think it looks interesting, for sure, but again, I kind of enjoy playing the older games first to kind of get an idea of like how good of a spiritual successor this is, if that makes sense. But it definitely seems intriguing. It almost feels like it's kind of going for the HD 2D look of some of like games like Octopath and things like that. Or also like the new Star Ocean where they mix sprites and like rendered environments. So again, it's a very interesting art style. I've heard really good things about Eastward, but I still haven't had a chance to play it. I can't remember if this was already announced. I've heard really good things about Wargroove too. It's basically like a medieval spiritual successor to Advance Wars. And yeah, people have really good things to say about the first game, so I hope the second game is really good too. Again, I haven't had a chance to play it, though, to be fair, like with Suikoden, I haven't even finished an Advance Wars game, so I don't really feel like jumping into a spiritual successor without a lot of knowledge of the series it's based on, if that makes sense. At some point, I'll eventually finish the first Advance Wars, but again, at least from what I've heard, Wargroove is a very good spiritual successor, so it is cool to see a sequel. But again, I actually can't remember if this was already announced or if this is like a new thing. But either way, it's cool to see. I keep hearing about this game also. Again, I didn't really know a ton about it, but apparently it's really well liked. It released not too long ago, if I'm not mistaken. So I definitely am intrigued to try this out at some point. It is nice to see it finally releasing on Switch, and I assume other consoles eventually as well. Oh wow, we're actually getting Daisy Circuit. I was not expecting this. I don't know how to feel about this, to be honest, because of what we know about the course IDs that were data mined at the very beginning. And there's Diddy Kong, well, they showed the other character as well. Oh, Funky is the other character. A lot of people were hoping for Pauline. I almost feel like they're saving Pauline for the next new Mario Kart. Oh wait, we are getting 3. I thought there were only 2 slots, though, left, so we are getting all 3, so that's cool. So I take back what I was about to say. Peachette, so they're just basically adding another row of characters at this point, it feels like. Anyone else? That also makes me wonder if we're still getting, like, the Wii Rainbow Road, again, based on, like, the course IDs that we know of. It's really crazy to see how much Among Us took off and also continues to do really well. It released in 2018 on Steam and took off because of people needing a game to play in 2020 with a large group of friends. And yeah, it's just kind of amazing to see how much the game is still thriving to this day, though based on recent things that are happening in the gaming industry, we'll have to see how this goes, unfortunately. But again, I hope Among Us and other indie games built off of Unity continue to thrive. Personally, I've not gotten much mileage out of Among Us as someone who typically doesn't play a lot of multiplayer games. I'm assuming they're teasing a new map here, which is exciting. It feels like it's been a while since the airship. So yeah, it is cool that we're actually getting a debut here. Again, it's such a cool concept, but again, I've never been able to play it with a group of friends or anything like that, so I just never feel like I've gotten the true Among Us experience, if that makes sense. Oh my god, it's actually happening. You know what, I was expecting Prime to be the final announcement. I can't even be mad about this. Oh my god, we're getting a Thousand Year Door remake. And it looks interesting. It's a very interesting art style. It's also wild we're getting Mario RPG and Thousand Year Door. Like, what the actual heck is happening? Like, that's crazy that we're getting both in such a short span of time. It's an interesting blend. It has kind of the paper aesthetic that you'd see in, like, the more modern era, but you also have, like, some of the old charm still there. Which obviously was a big concern with the idea of remaking Thousand Year Door. The idea of remaking this game had been floated around for a while, and it's just surreal seeing it happening. Like, I'm ecstatic. I wasn't expecting this at all, and this is just, yeah, this is crazy to get both of these. It looks great. The music sounds fantastic. And yeah, I really hope this game does well too, like Mario RPG. And I kind of hope that this means that they are willing to experiment a little bit more with the series. Again, I do feel like the Mario series had been getting kind of safe with their implementations of characters for a long time. And so, like, yeah, I'm kind of blown away by this, just seeing this, in all honesty. This is definitely a day one, though that shouldn't be a surprise at all. Thousand Year Door is still, to this day, one of my favorite games, if not my absolute favorite game of all time. I also wonder if they'll clean up some of the gameplay, because there is definitely some pacing issues as it goes on, but like the lighting is absurdly good, and like looks fantastic in my opinion. Again, it's just crazy that this exists at all. When's it releasing? On the whole, I think that Direct was a little bit better than I was expecting. To be honest, a lot of things leaked, unfortunately. I am very happy that Thousand Year Door did not leak, and I'm very excited for it, and I'm also very happy I didn't get spoiled on it, to be honest, because that is literally, like, the coolest part of this entire Direct, personally. But yeah, this was a pretty alright Direct. In general, September Directs, in my opinion, ended up being a little bit lighter in some ways, because one, they're either teasing stuff far out for, like, they're basically teasing things that'll come up later on. So for example, like Luigi's Mansion and Splatoon and Thousand Year Door are obviously just kind of lightly teased a little bit, and they'll obviously show up again in like the February Direct, assuming there is one as per tradition. But in terms of like the rest of it, it's usually just third-party stuff that'll often be at Tokyo Game Show or reiterating holiday stuff. In general, as far as September Directs go, this one was pretty okay, though in my opinion, it's kind of carried a little bit by Thousand Year Door. Also, F-Zero 99 is really cool. There's also been rumors about remaking GX at some point, though I kind of think it might be, this is kind of to set up for a GX remake to kind of get interest in the series back again. Obviously, the big omissions are one, it feels like we've had rumors of a Fire Emblem Genealogy of the Holy War remake for an insanely long amount of time, and so I was kind of expecting that to be here for like early next year also. So I'm a little bit surprised we didn't see that. Again, obviously this is just based on rumor, so who knows if it's like as far along as like rumors claim it is. But either way, I definitely feel like that was something I was expecting to see here that wasn't here. I was also expecting something Metroid, either a shadow drop of Echoes, or Echoes, or Corruption, or both together, and possibly a teaser for Prime 4. Personally, as much as I think it's really weird that we are still not seeing Prime 4, I can't complain. Again, though, this is just totally personal bias on my part. I'm also really confused by the Mario Kart 8 trailer because of, again, course ID data mining, the implication of like not getting any more Wii tracks, and if so, people were expecting Rainbow Road Wii, so I'm sure people are now really concerned about what tracks we're actually getting in this final wave if they're like completely rearranging how this works out. And also based on the character icons, we only saw, like, there were only 2 empty spaces on the roster after the last patch, so getting like 4 characters, because people have been battling for a very long time over whether it'll be like Diddy, or Funky Kong, or Pauline, so getting all 3 of these characters is fantastic in my opinion. So yeah, I'm very curious to see what else is in Wave 6, because now I feel like all of the ID speculation for like almost 2 years now is kind of out the window, because, or a year and a half I'd say, because it was like March last year when it was announced. But either way, again, everyone's speculation being built off of like course IDs based on like console labels, and now that we've had like 2 more Wii courses than we were expecting, and in both cases not the course we were expecting, it makes me wonder if we have a major shakeup from what the initial data mining showed. But beyond that, there were a couple of cool indie games. I definitely was kind of hoping to see, as futile as it would be, Hollow Knight, and again, especially with the Unity situation, who knows when that game will actually come out. In general, like the amiibos are cool. I hope they're not as difficult to find as Pyra and Mythra. I don't think they will be, to be honest, just because of like certain certain like contributing factors to Xenoblade 2's popularity compared to like 3, for example, with the character designs. Sora getting Amiibo finally also again gives me hope that they'll fix some of the glitches involving Steve from Minecraft, because that's been kind of plaguing the competitive scene for a long time. So a small balance patch would be kind of cool, but again, I don't think they said anything about that, so I guess we'll see. The new Vanillaware game, that's cool. Again, new Contra, that's a surprise. I was kind of expecting like a collection, or maybe like a Castlevania DS collection at best, so that was also neat. So yeah, overall this was a pretty alright Direct. I don't think it's like my favorite of the year. Thousand Year Door, again, carries it for me. But still, I really enjoyed this. Again, one disappointment, I was expecting the Side Order DLC to come out way sooner than spring. So I was expecting it like, next month or something, so it coming out next year was kind of like not what I was expecting. Again, Mario vs. Donkey Kong, that's cool. Again, I hope they keep making more games in this style rather than the mini style, even though I don't dislike the mini style. I definitely do prefer the DK94 style. And speaking of which, I'm also surprised we got nothing else other than F-Zero for Nintendo Switch Online. So, I mean, this is obviously a big announcement, but I was kind of expecting at least some kind of drop for Nintendo 64 Game Boy Advance for the upper tier, because September is like when they launched the service, so this is when everyone's subscriptions are running out. So I was kind of expecting some more expansion pass specific announcements like for the higher tier retro services. Yeah, overall this was a pretty alright Direct. Again, if I had to rank them from the ones this year, the February one was big because Professor Layton and Fantasy Life, and I think Feature Redeemed was shown off there for the first time too. So that one was also very like in my interests, basically. The summer one might be the weakest one in my opinion. As much as I love Super Mario RPG, I mean, we're getting 1,000 Year Door. Like, to be blunt, we're getting 1,000 Year Door. Just saying that feels like wild to me, that I can actually say that this is a real thing that's happening. Again, it's been rumored for a long time, and again, it's just wild to see it actually come to fruition. And yeah, I think it looks really good. It feels like a nice little hybrid of like the modern and the 1,000 Year Door art styles. And it seems like they're keeping the script and original character designs relatively intact, which was a big concern among Paper Mario fans, even as someone who actually likes the modern Paper Mario games to some extent. Though, again, I always will defend 1,000 Year Door and Super of the games. I do like the first game too, and in some ways I think it has better pacing than 1,000 Year Door, but I will admit I will always have a lot of nostalgia for this game because this was the first Paper Mario I ever played. But yeah, I'm excited. I hope it's like early, but given the vague 2024, I'm guessing this will be like probably spring. So it'll be a while, but again, I hope it does well. I hope both Mario RPGs that we're getting do well, because we have had a bit of a drought. Again, even as someone who likes, Color Splash, for example, it's not really an RPG. It doesn't really appeal to the same like niche. So, and with Mario and Luigi going away, I kind of hope, again, whoever's remaking Super Mario RPG, I don't think they've set a studio yet, but whoever's remaking it, I hope they also can work on, some of the other Mario RPGs too. Again, like, I'd love the Mario and Luigi games in this art style, like a trilogy, but again, that might be a tall ask, obviously, but again, I think this was a pretty solid Direct. The next Direct will probably be February if the tradition holds, but there may be some other reaction videos in the future depending on how things work out. So for example, there's a State of Play. I'll try to record my reactions, and if it's worthwhile, I'll post them probably the day after this. But either way, thank you for watching, and I hope you'll join me next time for another reaction video.